Good enough parenting. Raising happy children without pressure. Hello everyone, dear parents who are listening. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the pressure of having to be a perfect father or mother? That you must do everything right, never make mistakes, so that your child will have a bright future? If so, you're not alone. But today, we're going to explore a perspective that might help you breathe a little easier. Becoming a good enough parent. Don't get it wrong, good enough does not mean careless or irresponsible. It's a warm, loving, and realistic approach that might be the most wonderful thing we can offer our children. Before we dive into the details, let's take a quick look at the main points of today's talk. First, we'll see how striving to be a perfect parent can actually create unnecessary stress and pressure for the whole family. Next, we'll explore what good enough parenting really means, a warm, positive, patient, and loving style of raising children. Finally, although the journey may be challenging, staying committed to being a good enough parent is the most precious gift you can give your child. Let's begin. The origins and research behind good enough parenting. So where does this concept of good enough parenting come from? Is it a new idea? Not really. Back in 1953, a British pediatrician and psychoanalyst named Donald Winnicott introduced this concept. After many observations, studies, and clinical experiences, he came to a remarkable conclusion. Mothers who were not perfect, who occasionally made mistakes, were actually good mothers. In other words, they were good enough. Winnicott's discovery challenged a persistent myth that still exists today. The myth of the perfect parent. Many people believe that parents must always be flawless in every word and action, or their children will fail at school, struggle in relationships, or never find happiness. That pressure is enormous, isn't it? It makes parents feel constantly tense and afraid that they're not doing well enough. But modern science also supports Winnicott's view. In a 2019 study by Dr. Susan Woodhouse at Lehigh University, researchers examined how infants develop attachment to their caregivers. The findings were surprising. Even during this crucial period of development, parents only need to respond sensitively and appropriately to their babies about 50% of the time. The rest of the time, being good enough, even if sometimes slow or slightly off the mark, still results in a secure attachment and healthy development. This shows that good enough parenting is not a distant ideal, it happens every day, anywhere, and is entirely within our reach. We don't have to be superheroes, we just need to be present, loving, and good enough. What does it mean to be a good enough parent? It sounds nice, but what does good enough actually look like? What do we need to do to become good enough parents? Good enough parenting includes a few key elements. First, it means meeting your child's most basic needs: food, safe shelter, warm clothing, physical and emotional security, and, most importantly, unconditional love. This is the solid foundation for a child's development. Second, good enough parents usually put their child's needs above their own. However, they are also realistic and understand that sometimes their own needs must take priority for valid reasons. For example, parents also need rest, personal space, and to care for their own health. This doesn't make them selfish, it teaches their children about balance and real life. Third, good enough parents provide a certain structure, consistent rules and expectations, and gradual progress. But they don't enforce these rigidly or mechanically. They are flexible and willing to adjust as needed, depending on their child's development and situation. Characteristics of good enough parents. They don't strive for personal perfection and don't expect their child to be flawlessly perfect either. They accept that everyone makes mistakes. They genuinely try to understand and accept their child as they are, with both strengths and weaknesses, instead of forcing them to live up to their parents' dreams or expectations. They focus more on the present, on moments with their child, rather than being trapped in past regrets or anxious about future success. They respond to their child's legitimate needs, but they don't indulge every demand. They know how to say no when necessary, teaching children about boundaries and patience. They trust their own positive parenting approach. They understand that making occasional mistakes doesn't make them bad parents. They're not overly concerned with other people's opinions or comparing their parenting to others. Every family is different, and most importantly, they allow their child to truly be a child, instead of pressuring them to be extraordinary, overly intelligent, or exceptionally talented at any cost. When parents practice good enough parenting, they're helping their children develop a critical life skill, resilience. These children are often better prepared to handle daily disappointments, major challenges, and recover from emotional setbacks. Good enough parents know that mistakes don't damage their child forever. Instead, learning to cope with imperfection, discomfort, and ups and downs is the best preparation for real life. Moreover, good enough parents teach children valuable lessons in empathy, how to apologize when wrong, having realistic standards for themselves and others, self-regulation, and, most importantly, how to be kind. Someone once said that being a good enough parent is truly a gift. Every time a parent unintentionally disappoints their child a little, but both work through that moment together, the child becomes a bit stronger. That's the gift of being good enough. And maybe it's time we all embrace that gift, for ourselves and our children. The difference between good enough parents and bad parents. Now, there's something extremely important we must clarify. Good enough parenting is completely different from, even opposite to, bad parenting. Don't confuse these two. Good enough still falls within the realm of good. As we've said, good enough parents might make mistakes or poor decisions at times. A particular choice may be imperfect, but their overall approach and love for their child are never bad. Their actions are rooted in care and affection, even if their methods sometimes fall short. In contrast, bad parenting actively harms children. Bad parents may fail to provide structure, consistency, or boundaries, leaving their child lost. Or they might impose too many harsh, unreasonable rules, suffocating the child with control. Poor parenting often means prioritizing the parent's own desires over the child's needs, ignoring or downplaying their emotions. Worse still, they may fail to meet even the child's basic physical and emotional needs. In the most serious cases, bad parenting includes neglect, physical abuse, sexual abuse, verbal cruelty, or emotional manipulation. These are deliberate actions that deeply damage a child's development and well-being. In contrast, good and good enough parenting always stem from love. These parents want the best for their children. They meet their needs and support them daily with words of encouragement and caring actions. If they realize they've caused harm, unintentionally, they take responsibility, talk to the child, and work to heal the relationship. They never intentionally hurt, abuse, or harm their child. So, dear friends, parenting is full of challenges, but also full of joy. Remember, you don't have to be perfect to be an amazing parent in your child's eyes. Allow yourself to be good enough. Love your child sincerely. Be present with them in every moment. Be patient and accept your own imperfections, and your child's too. That's how you give your child the most precious gift of all, a peaceful childhood, a strong foundation to face life with confidence, and a love so complete that your child will always know, no matter what happens, they are deeply loved. Be confident that being a good enough parent is already being a good parent. Thank you for listening.